the calm before the storm. The headquarters of Virian Technologies stood like a monument to human innovation, a colossal glass tower reflecting the early morning sun, shimmering like a beacon of wealth and power. Inside, it was a world of precision and perfection. Screens projected stock tickers in real time, artificial intelligence monitored security, and robotic arms delivered files and coffee with mechanical grace. The CEO, Leonard Callum, was a man who thrived on order. He believed that chaos was a disease, one he'd worked his entire life to eradicate from his billion-dollar empire. On this particular morning, he stood in the executive boardroom, overlooking the skyline of Neo-Denver, a city that owed much of its progress to Virian's groundbreaking AI systems. But beneath the smooth operations, beneath the calm exterior of wealth and innovation, something sinister was waiting. Something no one, not the engineers, not the cybersecurity teams, not even the CEO himself, had anticipated. And when it struck, it would take the one person no one ever noticed to put things back together. Scene 2. The First Warning. At 9:14 a.m., a tremor passed through Virian's mainframe. Not a physical tremor, but a digital ripple, an invisible anomaly that caused one of the security monitors to flash an error code for less than half a second before restoring itself. To the engineers, in the control hub, it was nothing, just a minor glitch in an otherwise perfect system. But one person noticed. Amamira Rodriguez. She wasn't supposed to be in the control hub. In fact, she wasn't supposed to be anywhere near the nerve center of Virian Technologies. She was just a janitor's daughter, 17 years old, wearing an oversized hoodie and waiting for her father to finish his shift. But while he cleaned the marble floors outside, she sat quietly in the corner, sketching in her notebook. Designs for interfaces, algorithms, and things she dreamed of building one day. Her dark eyes flicked up to the monitor, just in time to see the flicker. It was small, barely there, but she knew what it meant. Systems didn't just blink like that. Not Virian systems. Not unless something had gone terribly wrong. She opened her notebook and quickly jotted a single line. Error pulse. Origin unknown. Watch for pattern. Scene 3. Code red. By 10:02 a.m., the building was in chaos. The intercom blared across all 73 floors. We have a code red. System down. I repeat, Virian's mainframe is down. The lights dimmed, screens across the building went black, and an eerie silence filled the hallways, followed by panic. In the boardroom, CEO Leonard Callum slammed his fist on the table. How is this possible? Our redundancy protocols are designed to withstand nuclear-level EMP attacks. What do you mean the mainframe is gone? His chief technology officer, Marcus Vey, stammered. It's not just gone, sir. It's locked. Something has bypassed all fail-safes. We can't even access the root. What about backups? Dead. Wiped clean. Whoever did this, they knew exactly where to hit us. Callum's face turned pale. Virian's AI didn't just run company operations. It powered city grids, medical data centers, and even the financial algorithms of the global trade exchange. Every second offline wasn't just costing millions, it was threatening lives. Scene 4. The girl in the hoodie. Meanwhile, Amira stood silently in the corner, watching as men in suits barked orders and slammed keyboards. She wasn't supposed to say anything. She wasn't supposed to know anything. But she did. She had been studying Virian's public code structures for years, learning from discarded manuals, old software notes her father brought home, and trial versions of their applications she'd reverse engineered on an old laptop. She understood their systems better than most interns did. And now, seeing the panic, she realized something. This wasn't just a crash. It was an injection. Someone slipped in a key, but not through the firewall, through the predictive layer. The CTO spun around. "What did you just say?" Amamira froze. Everyone in the room was staring at her now, the girl in the hoodie clutching a worn notebook. "Who are you?" Callum demanded. "I'm just waiting for my dad," she said softly. "He cleans the hallways." The CTO scoffed. "This is a secure environment. Get her out of here." But Callum raised a hand. "Wait, repeat what you just said." Amamira swallowed hard, then repeated. "It's not a collapse. It's an injection. Something's rewriting predictive patterns inside your AI core. If you keep trying to reboot without isolating that layer first, you'll lose everything." Scene 5. The dismissal. The room went silent. One of the executives, an older man with a sharp suit and sharper tongue, laughed. "We're really listening to a janitor's kid now? What's next? We bring in the delivery boy to run diagnostics?" Another muttered, "This is absurd. We have an elite team of engineers on payroll. We don't need her." Amamira looked down, clutching her notebook tighter. She had been here before, not in a boardroom, but in life, told she didn't belong, told she didn't matter. But she didn't move. Instead, she said, softly but firmly, "If I'm wrong, then you've lost nothing. But if I'm right, you have 30 minutes before this goes beyond repair." Scene 6. The unlikely deal. Callum studied her for a long moment. The CEO was a man who prided himself on his instinct, and something about the girl's composure struck him. Finally, he said, "You have 10 minutes. If you can't prove what you're saying, security will escort you out. If you can..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Amamira stepped forward, placed her notebook on the console, and began to explain her theory. Engineers leaned in, not because they believed her, but because they couldn't believe she had the nerve to speak at all. As she worked, one man in the back, a senior executive, watched her with something more than skepticism. He watched her with fear, because he knew something no one else did. He knew she was right, and if she succeeded, his secret would be exposed. Scene 7. Countdown. The next 30 minutes would change everything. Not just for Virian, not just for CEO Leonard Callum, but for Amamira Rodriguez, the janitor's daughter, who was about to rewrite the future of an empire, and uncover a betrayal that would bring the entire tower of glass crashing down.
The main terminal of Virian Technologies was no ordinary computer. It was the digital brain of a multi-billion-dollar empire. Layers of encryption, self-healing firewalls, and predictive intelligence protocols made it impenetrable to all but the most skilled engineers. And yet, here was Amamira, a teenager in a hoodie, her small hands flying across the keys with the precision of someone who had spent her life studying puzzles no one thought she understood. A cluster of engineers stood around her, whispering, half intrigued, half insulted that a janitor's daughter was now sitting at their sacred console. CEO Leonard Callum watched silently, torn between disbelief and the faint spark of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, this girl knew something they didn't. The room was thick with tension. Only the hum of backup generators and the rhythmic tapping of keys broke the silence. "Talk to me," Callum said at last. "What are you doing?" "Separating predictive layers from root control," Amamira replied without looking up. "If I can isolate the corruption point, I can lock it, at least temporarily. But what? But it's not a glitch. Someone did this on purpose." A murmur rippled through the room. The lead cybersecurity officer, Dr. Harlan Price, stepped forward, arms crossed. "That's a serious accusation. You're saying this was sabotage?" Amamira nodded. Virian's predictive system uses algorithmic foresight to correct anomalies before they occur. But someone created an artificial anomaly, something the AI can't predict, forcing it to rewrite its own decision trees. Eventually, it collapses under the weight of conflicting logic. "English," one executive muttered. "She's saying someone tricked the system into destroying itself," Dr. Price translated grimly. "Exactly," Amamira confirmed. "And if we don't stop it now, the AI's self-repair protocols will lock into a recursive loop. The longer it runs, the deeper the rewrite buries itself. At some point, there will be no way to recover without a full system purge." "And what happens if we do a full purge?" Callum asked. "Everything's gone," Dr. Price answered. "Every AI-assisted operation across multiple industries, hospitals, airports, banking systems. We'd be looking at a global collapse of critical networks, with Virian held responsible." The room fell into a tense silence. In the corner of the room, a man named Alastair Doone, Virian's chief operations officer, watched with growing unease. He had been with the company since its inception, but in recent months, he had grown disillusioned. He believed Virian had grown arrogant, and he had found other ways to profit from its secrets. Selling proprietary algorithms to competitors had been lucrative until a teenager had wandered into his disaster and started pulling on threads that could unravel everything. If she succeeded, the system would reveal more than corruption. It would reveal him. He couldn't let that happen. "2 minutes," Callum said, his voice low but firm. "Can you do it?" Amamira exhaled deeply. "I can try, but I'll need to access something your engineers probably haven't thought of." Dr. Price frowned. "Which is?" "The analog root." A collective gasp went around the room. The analog root was a mythical piece of Virian's infrastructure, a low-tech failsafe supposedly buried deep within the mainframe, designed to be immune to digital corruption. Only the original architects had access to it. "How do you even know about that?" Price demanded. Amamira gave a small, almost sad smile. "Because I read the old manuals, the ones you all threw out years ago. Your system isn't perfect because of how advanced it is. It's perfect because someone remembered to build something simple underneath." Amamira entered a command string few had ever seen. The console flickered, then displayed a series of numbers and analog key prompts, ancient by Virian standards. "Where did you learn to do this?" Callum asked softly. "In my room," Amamira replied, her eyes still fixed on the screen. "On a 10-year-old laptop, using scraps of code I found in trash bins." The system emitted a low tone, then displayed a new warning. "Critical point reached. Injected layer detected." "She's in," Price whispered. "Patra purge," Callum asked. "Patch first, but if the injection fights back, I'll need a manual override." Suddenly, the terminal flared red. Code began streaming faster than anyone had ever seen, lines twisting and reforming like a living organism. "It's fighting her," one engineer gasped. "No," Amamira said, voice calm but tight. "Someone is fighting me. Someone is inside right now." Callum's eyes swept the room. "Who has terminal access clearance besides us?" Dr. Price shook his head. "Only 3 executives, and one of them standing—" He stopped. Slowly, his gaze fell on Alastair Doone. "Mr. Doone," Callum said, his voice cold. "Would you care to explain why your remote access signature is pinging our mainframe right now?" All eyes turned. Doone laughed, dry, bitter, almost unhinged. "Do you really think this empire deserves to stand? Do you know how many lives this company has trampled on? I gave you my best years, Leonard, and what did I get in return? Meetings? More profit? More greed? You don't deserve what you built." "You sold us out," Callum said, deadly quiet. Dune's smile faded. I gave the world a chance to tear you down. You should thank me. Stop him, Callum ordered. Security lunged forward as Dune tried to trigger a final override from his wrist console. But Amamira was faster. Her fingers blurred over the keys, sending one last command into the analog route. The screen went black. Then green. System restored. Alastair Dune was dragged out of the room in handcuffs. The engineers stared at Amamira as if seeing her for the first time, not as a janitor's daughter, but as someone who had just saved their careers, their company, and possibly thousands of lives. Callum approached her, eyes unreadable. Then, slowly, he extended his hand. You just did what some of the best minds in this company couldn't, he said. Name your price. Amamira hesitated, then said softly, I don't want money. I want a chance. Callum raised an eyebrow. A chance to learn, a chance to build. Callum smiled, the first genuine smile anyone had seen from him in years. Done. Weeks later, headlines across the world hailed Amamira Rodriguez as a prodigy. Virian Technologies established a new program, the Amamira Initiative, to fund education for underprivileged tech talent. But Amamira didn't care about fame. She only cared about one thing, that when the system broke, she had been there to fix it. Not for the company, not for the CEO, but to prove to herself and to the world that even those who are overlooked can change everything. Do well to like, subscribe, and comment to Innocent Files.